Imagine an avenue where almost all available space belongs to cars. Pedestrians move along a narrow strip. A child must cross several streams of traffic. A bicycle tries to find room. For Enrique Peñalosa, this scene raises a political question before a technical one. Who deserves space in a city? His answer connects planning with urban equality. Public transport, cycleways, sidewalks, parks, and high-quality public space are not luxuries. They are democratic rights. From his experience in Bogotá, Peñalosa challenges the priority given to cars. A fair city must allow pedestrians, children, cyclists, and low-income residents to use it with dignity. Planning therefore becomes a concrete way of distributing rights across urban territory. The mechanism begins with something surprisingly physical: allocating meters of urban space. A street has limited width. If a larger share is reserved for cars, less remains for other uses. Peñalosa turns this physical distribution into a question of equality. Planning decides how much space public transport receives, how much a bicycle receives, and how much pedestrians can use. It also decides where parks and high-quality public spaces exist. This can be read as distributive policy carried out through urban design. It does not distribute only money. It distributes access, comfort, and possibilities for movement. According to Peñalosa, prioritizing cars is not a neutral decision. It favors one particular way of using the city. Changing that priority changes who can occupy urban space with dignity. Consider a first case, the sidewalk. It may seem like the simplest element in a city. Yet it determines whether someone can move on foot with continuity. For a child, pedestrian space also affects how much of the city can be experienced outside a car. The supplied material specifically places pedestrians and children among those who deserve a fairer distribution of urban space. Our interpretation is that a generous sidewalk represents more than mobility infrastructure. It expresses which bodies planning considers important. A city can declare its commitment to equality while giving most street space to a single mode. The irony is easy to see. The most democratic space can also be the space we routinely treat as whatever remains after everything else. A second case is the cycleway. A person on a bicycle occupies little physical space but needs continuity to travel with dignity. When dedicated space exists, cycling becomes part of the planned structure of the city. When that space disappears, cyclists must constantly negotiate with other users. Peñalosa defends cycleways as part of a more equal city. The argument does not require treating bicycles as a universal solution. It depends on recognizing cycling as a legitimate way to use the street. This can be read as a redistribution of priority. The roadway stops belonging automatically to cars. Different forms of mobility gain spatial recognition. Urban design then reveals something that speeches can hide: who receives protection, continuity, and visible presence. The third case combines public transport with public space. Imagine a city choosing between devoting more surface to car movement or improving shared options. Peñalosa places public transport within a democratic idea of planning. He also places parks and high-quality public space within that same logic. Both allow valuable urban resources to be used without requiring a high economic position. The supplied facts connect this vision with low-income residents. This can be read as a relationship between mobility and citizenship. Reaching a destination matters, but so does remaining in dignified urban spaces. A fair city is not measured only through travel speed. It can also ask who enjoys its best spaces and under which conditions those spaces become available. There is a strong counterargument. Cars offer autonomy and can be useful for many journeys. Reducing their priority may create inconvenience or make certain trips slower. One could also argue that streets must move people and activities efficiently. This objection deserves a fair presentation. Peñalosa's approach does not need to prove that cars should disappear completely. His criticism concerns the urban priority granted to them. The question is distributive. How much space does each form of movement receive, and who benefits from that decision? My interpretation is that efficiency is not a neutral measure either. We can measure it through car speed or through the ability of many people to use the city. Each definition produces different priorities. The democratic dimension now becomes visible. The supplied material presents one consistent idea: high-quality public space should be treated as a right. Peñalosa connects that right with pedestrians, cyclists, children, and low-income residents. Planning then becomes a tool for materializing equality. My editorial reading is that this makes the politics hidden inside a street section uncomfortable to ignore. A lane, sidewalk, or park may look like a physical decision. It also expresses social priorities. Every meter allocated answers, explicitly or implicitly, a question about who counts. Challenging car dominance therefore means more than discussing traffic. It means debating which groups encounter a comfortable, accessible, and dignified city when they leave their homes. Return to the avenue from the opening. Cars still require space, but they no longer appear to possess a natural right to almost the entire street. We can now see several legitimate claims on the same territory. A child needs to walk. A cyclist needs continuity. A public transport user needs to move. A resident needs a park where staying does not require buying anything. Our opening question asked who deserves urban space. Peñalosa gives it a different meaning through a simple idea: distributing space also distributes equality. A fair city does not promise that everyone will use streets identically. It seeks conditions where different residents can use them with dignity. Seen this way, a cycleway, sidewalk, or park stops looking like an accessory. It becomes democratic infrastructure.